everybody, and good morning and welcome to the class. I hope that you have had a good week so far. It is Thursday and yes, we are live, so the intention is to give a free class in the mornings. Because of the restrictions, it's a good opportunity to give classes and to teach English. I have been a teacher for 12 or 11 years and I have experience working with people from Spain, Italy, France, Brazil and some people from Korea. So it's a good opportunity for me to try to help at the moment online, and with the technology it's incredible to connect with lots of people and it's incredible to have this opportunity. So I'm very grateful and thank you to everybody. I hope we have no problem with the connection, with the Wi-Fi. Of course there are some possibilities to have difficulty, so I hope everything will be okay. And if today is your first class, welcome. Thank you for connecting, and hello to everybody who normally attends and who sometimes visit the class. So yeah, I am at home, so I'm working from home. We have 6 people working from home, so hopefully there's no disruption or no distraction. It's a possibility. Probably the same as you, and it's a good opportunity. Finally, I have a little space to work because it was necessary to stop in May, and now I have a little space to hopefully continue working and to teach online. And that's it. So I hope you can understand me. I know everybody has different levels of English, so I hope you can understand me. There are subtitles and captions available on the Facebook page, so you can follow my words. The majority are correct, but there are some errors and inaccuracies in the subtitles as well, so just bear that in mind. And the structure for the class today is very similar. So we will begin immediately with an article, and we will analyze an article about Spain, and we will check the vocabulary and for pronunciation and grammar, and we will continue maybe with phrasal verbs and idioms. This picture on the left is from Dublin, and on Instagram I have pictures every morning from Dublin, and you can see the building is very nice. But every morning I have pictures on Instagram, and the code or the account is @miglioreinglés. So maybe you want to connect with the Instagram account. There is material every day, 3 posts at the moment every day, 1 picture of Dublin, some information about the class, and then later in the evening some quotation or some text. So sometimes it's useful. Twitter, @migliora1 is the name on Twitter. It's the same content more or less as Facebook and Instagram. And the YouTube channel is @miglioreinglés. Some people prefer using YouTube, and maybe in the future I will do a class live on YouTube, because that's another possibility, but today it's Facebook. And you are welcome to join the meeting on Zoom if you want to connect with the Zoom meeting, because at the moment I am using Zoom and Facebook Live at the same time. So the code for Zoom is here, and if you want to participate and maybe ask a question on Zoom, that is a possibility, and depending on time we can hopefully do some speaking towards the end. Okay, so now I will share the screen and I will show you the material for today for the article, and the topic is Spain. So you can see here is the topic for Spain, and the topic of the article is in relation to work, and 4-day work is the suggestion, because at the moment most people work 5 days a week, but the topic of this article is in relation to 4 days a week. Okay, and I'll just fix my screen so everybody can see perfectly. So that's the idea of the story. It's a debate about working 4 days instead of 5 days, and sometimes that's an idea, it's popular, and I think in Spain they maybe will begin this project soon. So this article is from Time magazine, and you can see the picture of Seville, and it's a man cycling in Seville. Look at the temperature, it's incredible, but the streets are empty because of the pandemic obviously. So the writer is Lisa Abend, and it was March 22nd. So first I will read the text for pronunciation, and after the text, after reading, I will return for vocabulary and for expressions. Okay, so let's begin. Also here I can put my notes from the class, so if I need to write any vocabulary, any comments, I will put the notes here, and at the end of the class I will post all the material at the end of the class below the video in the comment section. Okay, so let's begin. So the headline: Spain is going to trial a 4-day work week. Could the idea go mainstream post-pandemic? Okay, so this is the first introduction, but before I begin, I just want to remind you of this document. So from my opinion, this document is the most important document when you learn English. It's an introduction, and it's in relation to every technical vocabulary, every technical concept in English. For me, there are 3 important sections. The first section is use of English. The second section are different tenses in English, and the third section is the grammar. So in my opinion, and in my classes and the structure of the class, there are 3 areas: grammar in general, then you have the different tenses that we speak, and the use of English. So first I just want to show you the vocabulary, and in relation to use of English, we have different accents. So with English, people have different accents in Ireland, England, United States, Canada, Australia. We have a lot of different accents, and people speak with different velocities. So this is extremely challenging and extremely difficult for you when you are learning English. That's one big area. The best way to improve this is to listen, and to listen to videos, listen to movies, but also speak and listen to other people from different places. That's a big way to improve your listening and to understand different accents. It's extremely difficult to understand native and local people, so it's maybe the most important area in English, the accents. Phrasal verbs are really important and very unique to English. So phrasal verb basically is a verb plus a preposition. It's possible a literal significance, but it's frequently possible a second completely different significance. So phrasal verbs are very important and a big part of English, and for this reason it is at the top of the list. So phrasal verbs we use with family, with friends, social situations, formal situations. We use phrasal verbs all the time, and they are very important. The next idea are idioms or expressions. So again, we use idioms all the time, and they are very important for you to understand English. We use them in social situations, in formal situations, to make English a little more interesting, a little funnier, and to really understand English, it's necessary to be aware of the idioms and the phrasal verbs. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of phrasal verbs and idioms. Conversation and pronunciation is a big part. So when you learn English, when you are practicing English, it's necessary for you to continuously practice speaking, to find somebody to help you with conversation and correction. So speaking and conversation is a big part to improve English, and in my opinion this is at the top of the list also. Pronunciation is important, and when I read the article you will identify some pronunciation issues, and English sometimes is irregular with pronunciation. And also for me in Ireland we have some particular accents in relation to pronunciation, and for example the U is very strong in Ireland. Must, Dublin, sometimes it's very strong, but phonetically it should be Dublin, must. So just be a little careful with the U, and also the TH. For example, it should be this, that, these, those, but sometimes in Dublin and in Ireland it's like a D, this, that. So just be careful as well. And that's the use of English. That section is very important. The next section are the tenses. So when you speak in English, you have different tenses. You need to be familiar with the concept at the beginning of the class, at the beginning of studying English. You need to be very clear with the different ideas of the time. We have the present simple, past simple, future simple. That's one action in the present, the past and the future. Present continuous, when the action is happening continuously. Past continuous, when the action happened in the past continuously. and the future continuous as well. So those are important: the simple, the continuous, and the perfect. We have the present perfect and the past perfect and the future perfect. So it's very important that you know the idea and the structure of the tenses. Okay, normally I explain a little more, and in my earlier classes in January and in February you can see a better explanation of the tenses, but today it's just a little introduction. Okay, so here's an example: the simple, the continuous. Also, the infinitive is the base of the verb. So the infinitive is the foundation and the base of the verb, and usually it's to go, to eat, to drink, to sleep. This is the infinitive, and this is very important. Also, we have the conditionals: zero conditional, first, second, third, mixed conditionals. In the book it's a little heavy, but in reality it's a little more flexible. So that's the idea of the conditional. And finally, the active and the passive. This is the technical explanation, the technical vocabulary, because during the class I mentioned frequently the technical vocabulary. So active and passive is very important. And then finally, the grammar vocabulary. So in grammar we have a noun or a substantive, we have an article, we have an adjective, we have the comparative, superlative, we have the adverb, we have the modal verb, prepositions, possessive adjective, possessive pronoun, object pronoun. They are the most frequent terms, and it's your responsibility to be very familiar with these terms. Sometimes I explain more, and during the class you will see more of an explanation, but it's necessary you are familiar with the concepts. Okay, so the noun, the article, countable, uncountable, adjective, comparative, superlative, adverb, modal verb, prepositions, possessive adjective, possessive pronoun, object pronoun. So this document is key, and I put this document at the bottom of the video every day in the comment section, and you can check to see this document. But it's the same material as any book. Every book you have, you study English, you have the content, and this content is the same. So of course it's so important you're familiar with the technical vocabulary, suffix, prefix, questions, conjunctions, and that's it. Okay, so writing is completely different as well. So it's necessary you practice speaking, listening, writing, reading, and grammar. So they're the 5 very important areas for you to practice regularly. And finally, we have exam preparations. The Cambridge exams are very popular. The first certificate, the advanced certificate, the proficiency certificate are very popular with Cambridge, and the IELTS exam is very popular as well. I have specific webinars every day at 4 o'clock in relation to exams. So for example, today at 4 o'clock, okay, I'm going to show you the document, because at 4 o'clock today we have a specific webinar in relation to the advanced exam. So I want to show you the picture, because on today at 4 o'clock there's the specific webinar in relation to advanced. Okay, so this is Thursday, and this is the perfect information. So today at 4 o'clock, this is the webinar. It's related to the advanced exam C1. So if you are interested and you want to join the webinar, you can contact me, and it's approximately 1 hour. It's on Zoom, and there's a small fee of €2.90, but we will continue with every part of the exam: the reading, the writing, the listening, the speaking, and the use of English. So that is today. Yesterday we had the webinar for IELTS. Tomorrow we have business English webinar at 4 o'clock, and Saturday we have the first certificate webinar. So there are webinars every day, specific, dedicated to different topics, and you can join when you want. Okay, super. That's really good. And now I'm going to read the article finally. So you can see the picture, and it says a man rides a bike along an empty street, okay, during a COVID-19 lockdown in Seville, Spain on May 8, 2020. Okay, so here's the first paragraph. It wasn't long after her company switched to a 4-day work week that Pilar Meseguer began noticing the benefits. Absenteeism fell nearly 30% at Del Sol, the software firm in southern Spain where Meziger is deputy director, and satisfaction rates among both her co-workers and their customers rose. Okay, but there were also some smaller, more personal gains. I could go to the supermarket on Friday instead of Saturday when it's packed with people. Meziger says it's a simple thing, but it makes a big difference. Okay, so it's a very, very long article, but I will read as much as I can and then return to the key vocabulary. Also, I highlight the very important points. I highlight the important words when I read. So that's a little secret as well. So it's a long article. Soon, many of our compatriots may have, so that's a modal, may have the same experience. Earlier this year, the Spanish government agreed to begin a small nationwide trial of a 4-day work week, and will meet in late March to hammer out the details. The concept itself is not new. The 4-day week has been a goal of many left-leaning political parties since the start of the 20th century, and no less an authority than economist John Maynard Keynes argued that ever-increasing efficiency would soon free up more leisure time within industrialized societies. Okay, so very fluent text, very, very good quality, and I will continue a little more for pronunciation. If you have any questions, you can put the comment in Facebook or in Zoom. You can connect on the meeting in Zoom, and you can ask a question if you have any questions. Okay, already dozens of companies around the world, as well as at least one municipal government, have trimmed a day from their weekly schedules, but Spain's pilot is on track to be the first national test. And although the potential transformation of something as deeply ingrained and seemingly immutable as the Monday to Friday 9 to 5 grind is unsurprisingly controversial, it just might be an idea whose time has come. Okay, so very, very good vocabulary. I am enthusiastic to explain all the vocabulary, but I wish we had to explain as much as possible. So the first structure is going to. So remember the tense. You have the past simple, present simple, and the future simple. There are two possibilities to create the future. I will go and I am going to go. I will eat, I am going to eat. So there's two possibilities to create the future, and this is one possibility. So Spain is going to trial. This is the future. It will happen in the future. Okay? To trial is the verb, and it's the significance to test. Okay? To trial, to test. It's almost the same, and the vocabulary is very, very similar, so that's no problem really. And then the other one is going to and will. So they're the two structures for the future. And also after, I will put the notes in the Facebook page below the video every day. Okay, could, so this is a question. Could I, it's a possibility, it's an option. Could I have some chocolate? It's a possibility. Could I go to the cinema? It's a question. The idea to go mainstream is the expression. So this is very, very typical expression in conversation. To go mainstream is very, very good. So first you can identify the word stream, and basically a stream is related to the river. So a very, very small river is considered a stream. So I think it's a type of a river, but a stream is a very, very small river. That's the first significance. But it is a metaphor in relation to technology. The verb to stream, like the fluency of the river, or the flow of the river, that is the stream. So in relation to technology, for example, now on Facebook, I am here in Dublin and I am streaming the technology, I'm streaming the video. So it's used in technology, but it's also originally with the water, okay, the stream, and it's typical. So the expression mainstream is very, very famous. So main is like the principle, the main street, the main problem, the main man, the main woman. The principle are the most important. So mainstream is the most important river, or the most important stream. So you have little rivers, but this is the mainstream. But it's a metaphor in relation to life. For example, Twitter is mainstream because the majority of people use Twitter. Yes, there are other applications, but the majority of people use Twitter, so it's mainstream. Okay, and the idea of the 4-day week, it's an idea normally away, because the mainstream is 5 days a week, but here it's a question: could the idea of 4 days a week, could it be the most important, could it be the most popular? So to go mainstream is very common in conversation, very, very typical in situations. Mainstream media, for example, so Time magazine is mainstream media. BBC, RTE, New York Times, they're the mainstream media. Okay. Post-pandemic, so post is a prefix, and the area of prefix and suffixes are very important. So post means after, post-match, post-event, post-pandemic. So this means after the pandemic. Okay. So in the first paragraph, you can see here a man. The verb with the bike is to ride a bike. You can ride a horse and you can ride a bike. Okay. So to ride a horse and to ride a bike, they are the typical situations. And maybe a roller coaster, you can ride the roller coaster as well. To ride the roller coaster, and a roller coaster in Espanol is montaña rusa. Okay, so to ride the roller coaster is possible. Along is the preposition, so it's like parallel. So if you have the road and you walk along the road, it's almost like parallel. Okay, it's a preposition, and remember, prepositions are very important. They are related to movement, they are related to direction, and they're related to position. We have maybe 150 prepositions, and along is just one preposition for movement. Okay. Empty is the vocabulary for the adjective. So the street is the noun, and the structure, normally you have a noun, you have an article, and you have an adjective. That's the typical structure in English. The article is a, the. There's two possibilities for the article, a or the. A is the indefinite article, the is the definite article, and in this case it's the street, the street, or a street. But because the adjective begins with the vowel, A-E-I-O-U, the vowel, it begins with a vowel, it's necessary the article with the N. An apple, an orange, and then an empty street. Okay, no problem. The day, so the preposition for the day, we say on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday. For the month, we say in January, in February, in March. So here it's May 8th, it's one day. So I will meet my friend on May 8th. That's a day, so we say on. Okay, if you use the month, I will meet my friend in May in general, it's in May. So the difference between on and in is very, very important. Okay, so the first paragraph here, it wasn't a long time. Okay, so this is an adjective, it wasn't a long time, so it wasn't long after, but there is a verb to long. Okay, to long for is a verb, and that means you really desire. So I long for a holiday, I long for another holiday, but I long it means you really want something. So you long for this chocolate cake, you really, really want it. So it is a verb, but of course the most typical is the adjective long. Okay, and you need to be familiar with the noun, the length, which is, I need to change the text here. So this is important. Long is the adjective, long day, long week, long year, but the length, pronunciation, the length, the G is almost silent, is the noun. Okay, and that's important for sure. Okay, switched. So the verb to switch is to change, and normally the verb to switch, but to create the past simple, regular, we add ed. Look, looked. Ask, asked. So to create the past simple, we add ed, and the verb here is to switch, which has the significance to change. Switch positions, switch time, and it's typical in your job as well. Switch your shift. So there's another word in English, to shift, which means to change. Okay, to change, to move. So this is the reason in your job you have the morning shift, is the time that you work in the morning. You have the afternoon shift and the evening shift. Okay, so here her company switched, it's the past simple, changed to a 4-day week. So this is the article, this is the adjective, and this is the noun, work week. Okay, that pillar mesure, so this is called a relative pronoun. The relative pronoun, we have who, which, or that. And normally which and that are very, very similar. You can substitute the two very frequently. And here which would be comfortable as well and very common. Began is from the verb to begin. It's irregular. Begin, began, begun. So this is one example of irregular verb. The verb to begin and the past is began. Noticing is to realize. Okay, so the verb is to notice, and it's like to identify or to realize. For example, I am giving the class at the moment for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I have not realized, I have not noticed the bag over there. I have not identified. So to notice is to realize. Okay, and I think this is a little false friend, because in Espanol realizar is like hacer. Okay, so to realize is como darse cuenta in Espanol. So you need to be a little bit careful. To notice and to realize are synonyms. And here, so she began in the past noticing the benefits. Also, you need to be clear the difference between benefit and profit. Okay, so I'm going to write here the benefit and the profit. So in English, benefit is more general. It's something positive. So you work and you receive a car, you receive money for your lunch. This is a benefit. But profit is typical financial for the company. So the company sell the product and they have the cost, but the profit is the extra money. It's confusing because in Spanish, beneficio has the translation to English profit. Okay, so in English there's a big distinction between profit and benefit in the noun, because the profit is the money from the company and the benefit is maybe something that's not money, like an advantage, like food, like a car. So there is a difference between the benefit and the profit in some cases. Okay, absent is the adjective. If you are absent, it is the adjective. Okay, absent is adjective. The noun is the absence, and absenteeism, I think you're probably familiar with this. Absenteeism is the idea of people missing work, okay, in general. Fell is another verb irregular. The verb is to fall and the past is fell. Fall, fell, fallen. They're the three areas that you typically learn in school. Fall, fell, fallen. But you need to be careful because we have another verb which is different, to feel. Okay, so some people confuse these two verbs, so you need to be a little bit careful. The verb is to fall in Espanol, caer. Fell is the past simple irregular, and fallen is the participle. Okay, but the other verb to feel is como sentir. You feel sad, you feel hungry, you feel tired, but the past is felt. Okay, so past irregular, another example of the irregular verb. So you need to be careful with the difference and the significance between to fall and to feel. Okay, and the participle is felt as well. No problem. Nearly is almost. This word is very important. So the software firm. Okay, so first, firm is an adjective and it's typical for strong. So the first example is a firm handshake, and I see we have a question, so I'll just check the question. I beg your pardon, teacher, could you? Okay, yes. So that's a very, very good expression. First, I beg your pardon is very polite, it's very formal, and the significance is to be polite and to ask somebody. It's like, I am sorry, excuse me. So to beg your pardon is very good. Very, very polite. But the verb to beg is typical for when you need help, when you need assistance, you beg. It's like, please, 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 can you help me? I beg you. Typical for the teenager, typical for the parent. So the teenager begs the parent, and it's very good expression here. So the word absenteeism, exactly. So absent is the adjective, absentee is the person. So if you're an absentee, you are the person, like employee. So this suffix represents the person, EE. For example, employee, you remember? Okay, so the verb is to employ. The person is employee, like the worker. And then the company is the employer. So you need to be very, very sure. So the employee is the pronunciation, and here absentee. And then absenteeism is the concept. It's the general idea, absenteeism. Okay, really good. Thank you for the question, and feel free to continue with your questions. And if anybody wants to join the meeting, again, the code is here at the top. If you want to join the Zoom meeting to ask a question. Okay, so I'll just continue again. Sorry, I cannot keep the code there longer. But the link for the Zoom every morning is in the event section on Facebook. In the event section, the event created for the class, there is the link directly to the Zoom meeting every morning at maybe 10:30. Okay, so yeah, the firm is very important. So again, firm is an adjective, and a typical context is with a handshake. So in Espanol you say dar el mano, okay, or dar la mano. So it's like give the hand. But in English we say the verb to shake is this action. Here's the bottle, and you shake the bottle. Okay, milk shake, you go to the restaurant and you order the milk shake. And if you're very cold, you're shaking. Okay, so the verb to shake is very important. And of course Taylor Swift has her song Shake It Off. When you're dancing, you shake yourself. It is possible as well to give someone a shake is little informal, like to give them, to wake them up. So in sport, if the person is tired, if the person's not working, you give them a shake to make them function, to make them work. Okay, but a handshake is this action. In Espanol, dar el mano. Okay, so handshake. But in English we say a firm handshake. I mean, it's significant, a strong handshake. Okay, you can say a firm no, which means a strong no. Okay, so, and you can also say I firmly believe. This is very typical as well. I firmly believe has the significance I strongly believe. Okay, so it's really, really good. But in this context, it's a little different. So number one, it's like strong. But number two, it's the same significance as a company. And we can say a law firm, a legal firm has the significance a law group, a law company. Okay, so a law firm. And here it's a software firm, like a technology company. So that's really, really important. Among, so satisfaction rate, among is a preposition, and it's formal, and it's like with or in the middle. Okay, so I am among my friends has the significance I am with my friends, I am in the middle of my friends. My pen is among my items or my things. My pen is among my things. It means it's in, with, or yeah, really with or in my things. Okay, so it's really good. It's probably old English, but it is good and appropriate, and it's common. Okay, both are the two. So do you want this coffee or the other coffee? I want both. I want the two. Okay, co-workers is another possibility to say colleague. So everybody is familiar with colleague, and you can also say co-worker. So that is the typical pronunciation, colleague and co-worker. Okay, and here it's the plural. And I hope I have my chat here. Yeah. Is there any difference between? Good question. Is there any difference between and among? Yes. So I would consider between is more common. Most people understand between, and between is technically two things. So if you have one object and another object, the pen is between. It's like in the middle. And among is maybe typical when you are in the company of people. It's probably the context. So among is typically when you are with others, other people or other things, and between is maybe the position. So there's probably, yes, a difference, and it's a good question as well. So here it's the satisfaction rate is the subject, and the verb is rose. So I don't know if you're familiar with this word. Of course, the noun is a rose. On Valentine's Day, like a flower, you receive a rose. It's a flower. It's also a colour. rose, like rosa in Espanol, it's like pink, the color. But it's a verb, okay? The verb is to rise and it's to increase, but the past is rose. Okay, so really good irregular verb, and it's very important verb because we have another verb which is similar but has a completely different, well, a different significance, to raise. Okay, and yesterday we explained the difference between to rise and to raise, and it depends on the subject of the verb. If it's the person, it's normally raise. Okay, I raise my hand, I raise a question, it's like I lift. Or it's typical for children, I raise a child. That means you bring up a child, you educate, you teach, you love, you give some food, so you bring up the child or you raise the child. But rise is typical when the subject is maybe the sun, the temperature, the price. For example, at 6 o'clock the temperature rises, at 10 o'clock the price rises. So there's a small difference between to rise and to raise, and raise is regular, so the past is raised, and rise is irregular, rose in the past. Okay, gains, so there are also some smaller. Small is the adjective and the comparative is smaller, small, 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 smaller, smallest. Gains is very important. Here it's the noun, a gain, and it is important because we also have the verb to gain. Okay, so where's my pen gone? So the verb is to gain, and I think this is probably the closest translation and the closest explanation to ganar in Espanol. So ganar, I think literally in English is more to gain. Okay, so you need to be very clear here because we have other verbs: to gain, to win. The difference between to gain and to win is important. So win is typical in competition. Win is typical in sport. You win the match, you win the prize, you win the competition. But gain is more for something you... Also, we have the verb to earn. That's the other verb that's very, very similar. Okay, so the gain, to earn, and to win are very, very common, but the context is different. So for win, it's competition and prize and award. But to earn, maybe it's typically with salary, okay, or money. So to earn a salary, to earn a wage, and to earn money. That's the typical context, and it's very, very frequent. So it's a little strange in English to say to win money. Only it's possible in a competition or a prize, but in your job, no, we do not win money in your job. It's understandable, but it's a little strange. So in your job, we earn money, or you earn your salary. And to win is a competition. To gain is usually... Gain is very similar to earn, but gain is more used outside money. So you gain respect, you gain a reputation, you gain experience. So they're the most typical context for to gain. Reputation, experience, trust. And we have reputation. They're the most typical, okay? Because it's not really... Well, gain a reputation, yes. Gain experience, absolutely. And gain trust, absolutely. So basically, gain and earn are very, very similar. But the big point is you need to remember earn is typical with money and a salary, okay? So here it's a noun, a gain, a personal gain, okay? For example, and it's typical, the verb to gain, in relation to weight. Okay, so to gain weight, and that is when, for example, I eat a lot of chocolate, I eat a lot of sugar, and I gain weight. Okay, there's another expression, to put on weight, and also the verb is to weigh. So you need to be important to be aware of the difference between the verb and the noun. Okay, so the verb is to weigh. I weigh 80 kilograms, I weigh 10 stone, but my weight with the T. So the big difference between the T and no T. Okay, so that's important for sure. So this is the possessive adjective. Remember, my pen, your pen, his pen, her pen, our pen, their pen. Okay, so it's possessive adjective, and that's no problem, I think. Okay, here we have the modal verb. Remember that the modal verbs in English, we have a lot of modal verbs: can, could, may, might, should, must. So modal verbs are very important. They're for ability, possibility, options, advice, recommendations. We use a special category of verbs called modal verbs, and could is one modal verb with the significance of option and possibility. I could go to the shop. I could go to the cinema. It's an option. But the big rule, after the modal verb, the next verb, normally infinitive, to go, to eat, to drink, but after the modal verb we eliminate to. I can eat, I could go, I might look. Okay, so that's very, very important. The difference between the infinitive and the modal verb, we eliminate the two. So here the verb is to go, but because it's after the modal verb we eliminate to. Okay, instead of is a linker, in lugar de in Espanol, and we have another synonym for instead of. So instead of is a substitution. I go to the cinema instead of the restaurant. Okay, so it's a substitution, but we have a more formal expression. It's exactly the same significance, rather than. I go to the cinema rather than the restaurant. It has the same significance as instead of. Okay, and really the word is your stead, and this is a very old English word. It's very old and it's not typical. It's very formal, and the significance is your place. So I go to the party in your place. So you have the invite, but I substitute for you. So I go to the party in your stead, in your place. It's very formal, very old English, and for this reason it's the explanation for the word instead of. Okay, so it is possible. In good stead is typical, and that means in good position. So the company is in good stead, the business is in good stead, and that means in good position. So it's related to the same family. Okay, so really good vocabulary. Packed. So when it is the subject, the verb is to be. It is packed with people. So that's an adjective. The verb is to pack. And this is very important in relation to travel. When you travel from Spain to Ireland, you need to hacer tu maleta. Entonces, para traducir hacer tu maleta in inglés, in English we say to pack your bag. Okay, it is possible, yes, to make your bag, but it's not number one. Number one is to pack your bag. So the verb to pack is this action. Okay, the adjective is packed. So it's possible to say my bag is packed, but this is a metaphor in relation to a restaurant, in relation to the city, when there is a lot of people in the restaurant, when there is a lot of people on the street, we can say the street is packed, the restaurant is packed. It has the same significance as crowded. Okay, so crowded is the adjective, and you can see the suffix is ed. The pronunciation is important. Crowded, packed, and there is a noun, a crowd, without the ed. So just the difference between the suffix and the prefix. Okay, and it is a verb as well, to crowd. So if there's a problem on the street, the people, subject, the people crowd around. So it's a verb as well. Okay, and also every day I say the same, but we have one person, singular, and two people. That's the most typical in English. Singular, person, plural, people. And it's very commonly confused, and people make the error frequently. So it's very important in English. One person, two people. It is possible 2 persons, 3 persons, but only in a legal situation. In a very formal situation, we say 2 persons, 3 persons. But generally, every day, we say people. Okay? And in the next paragraph, I want to explain this structure here. Okay, so the Spanish government is the subject of the sentence. So normally in English you need the subject, the verb and the object. That's the typical structure. And here it's the subject, the Spanish government, and the verb is to agree. So this is very important, particularly from Portuguese and from Spanish to English, because in English the verb is to agree. In Spanish you say estoy de acuerdo. So the translation for estoy de acuerdo literally is I am agree. But this is very strange in English because we never use the verb am with the verb agree, only in the present continuous. Let me explain. The verb is to agree. The present, I agree. Okay, you agree. He agrees with the S. She agrees. We agree. But the past, it's regular. So I agreed. Okay, so that's the past. Simple, regular. Because remember, the regular structure is ed. So that's very important. And in Spanish, it's different. You say estoy de acuerdo. But in English, we say I agree. So the error, this is the error. So be very, very careful. This is the error. This is the mistake. And it's so common. I think 70%. So the majority of people make the mistake, especially when you speak in English. So be very, very careful. This is the error. Because the correct is I agree. It's just simple and something small, but I'm sorry to make that very obvious and very big, but you understand. Okay, so let me highlight this. Good, so that's just a little example. And nationwide is a very good vocabulary as well. So you see here, nationwide is an adjective, and wide is an adjective, which is very important, like amplio. The street is very wide. Your experience, you have wide experience. And the room is very wide. Okay, and the noun is width. So very interesting difference, wide and width, like long and length, you remember at the start. So wide and width, it's very similar to broad. Okay, so broad is another adjective in relation to describe wide, and it's typical for shoulders. Your shoulders are broad, like wide. And in America, in New York, they have Broadway. So Broadway is the street that's very wide, but it's the famous street that has all the theaters, all the concerts, the musicals are on Broadway because the street is very wide. Okay, so very important. There is a verb as well, to broaden. To broaden your horizon is to make bigger, to make wider your attitude, to open your mind. And there is a verb as well, to widen. So very important. You can see the similarities and the very, I don't know, the very similar, but the suffixes. For example, en is a typical suffix for a verb: soften, darken, widen, lighten. So en represents a verb. Okay, and I'm going to give you a few more: to lighten, to soften, to darken. These are all typical verbs. Okay, so nationwide has the significance of all the countries. So the competition is nationwide. That means every part of the country, every part of the nation can access and can join the competition. Okay. Next, a goal is an objective. It has been. So this is the present perfect, the verb to be. The conjugation: I am, I was, I will be. The present perfect: I have been. But it is the concept. The concept has been. It's a present perfect, something that started in the past. It's finished, but it is related and relevant to the present. Okay, so it has been. A goal is an objective. Okay, un meta in español, a target, an objective, a goal. This vocabulary of left-leaning political parties. So left, everybody understands left and right, and typically in politics you have left and right. But this word is very important, to lean. Okay, and I'm going to give you an example. It's very, very flexible. We have lots of examples, and we normally say with a friend to lean on somebody. Okay, so the verb to lean: I am standing at the moment, standing. But if I lean, it's this action, like inclination. Okay, for example, the wall, the pared. So if I lean against the wall, it's very typical in school for teenagers. When you're very cool, you lean against the wall, number one. But if you lean on somebody, it's typically for support and for help. So I lean on my friend. I need help, I need assistance from my friend. To lean on my friend. There's a famous song, Lean on Me. I cannot sing, but you know the song, lean on me when you are not strong, I will be your friend to help you carry on. So that is the famous song, to lean on me. But in this situation in politics, you lean, so maybe you're in the center, but you lean to the right or you lean to the left. So it's an adjective, very descriptive, very good to describe the people or the party with the perception or with the attitude. So left leaning or right leaning. Also, we have the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Okay, so in Pisa in Italy, you have the Leaning Tower, which is the famous torre with inclination. Okay, finally, we have another adjective, lean, with a different context. For example, lean meat. Okay, so lean meat and a lean person. There is an expression, lean and mean. So this is a famous expression. Lean person is como delgado, skinny or thin. So if the person is very lean, they have no fat, they have no excess. It's just muscle and strong. They are very lean. Okay, and lean meat is the same. For example, chicken, fish, they're very lean meat because the amount of fat is very, very low. So it's a very good adjective. A lean person is a very thin, a very strong person. Lean, mean, fighting machine. This is an expression. Lean, mean, fighting machine. So mean has the significance of significado. Okay, what does this mean? What does that mean? Number one. Number two, it means very bad behavior. So if the child is very mean, the significance is very bad behavior. And we have other vocabulary. You can say naughty or bold. Okay, so naughty is bad, bold and mean. They're the typical vocabularies and the typical synonyms for bad behavior. Okay, remember the difference between from and since. Since is one moment in the past, since 8 o'clock, since yesterday, since last year. But from is typically to. From 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. From last year to today. From last year until today. Okay, so that's the difference between since and from. Very important as well. Phrasal verb here as well. Free up. That's no problem. It's just to make free. So I'm very busy. My schedule, my timetable is very full. I need to free up some time. So I need to make some time. And the pronunciation here is leisure. And in Espanol is ocio. So leisure time is like free time or spare time. So you can say leisure time, you can say free time, you can say spare time. And spare is very, very good because the verb is to spare. And you can also say the adjective spare tire. So this is very, very typical. And spare tire, tire is pneumatico, and a spare tire is an extra tire. Okay, so on the car you have the 4 wheels and you have the spare tire, the extra tire. Okay, so the verb to spare is to make extra. So can you spare time? Can you find free time to help me? Can you spare time? Typical for money. When people need money, they ask you for money, they beg you for money. Can you spare some money? Can you spare some change? Okay, spare change. So very simple word, but very specific to English, because in Spanish I think the translation is completely different, or Portuguese, or other languages of course, but it's good vocabulary. And here's just leisure time. Okay, so of course I want to continue explaining because it's so important, and this article in particular is very advanced, it's very good quality, it's very fluent, it's very long, but it's very good, and I want to continue explaining, but I'm afraid you might lose interest. But I'll just finish with the last paragraph and identify the key words, because it's full of key vocabulary, it's full of very good vocabulary. Dozen is 12, so just the pronunciation, a dozen, which is 12, and we have an expression, we say 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. That's a very famous expression, and I think I explained last week. So you have 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. So this is an expression to say something is the same. It's a metaphor to say your decision, your option is the same. So you can go to Italy or you can go to Holland. Oof, it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. It's exactly the same, but it looks different. It's a very famous expression and very good. Company is singular, but the plural is IES. So remember, yesterday we said the same. Y goes to IES in the plural. So I think I need some lessons with my typing. Plural. So we say 1 fly and 2 flies. So it's the same here. 1 country and 2 countries. Okay. At least is al menos in Espanol, so it's usually used in a positive situation. The situation is very bad at the moment. Everything is bad. The shops are closed. The restaurants are closed. It's not possible to meet your friends. It's not possible to meet your family. So it's very negative, but at least you can work from home, or at least you can spend time with your friend or your family at home. So at least is like a little minimum, one minimum. It's very typical. And the vocabulary here is to trim. So this is very good vocabulary, typical in the hairdressers or the barbers. So for the ladies, it's a hairdresser, and for the men, it's typically the barber. Okay, but you want a trim. So the verb is to trim, and the significance is a little cut. So it's like to cut, but it's a little cut. So my hair is maybe it's okay, but I need a little trim, a little cut. Okay, so it's frequent and it's very common, but it's also possible the adjective. You remember previously we said the person is very lean, very skinny, very thin. There's another word, trim. The person's very trim. So again, it's related to skinny, it's related to thin. Trim person is like thin person. Thin, sorry, not think. So a trim person is a thin person, and in a photograph it's possible as well. Like, of course, we say to crop. To crop is to cut, but to trim is similar as well. To trim the photograph, to crop the photograph. Also for clothes, you can trim your clothes, which is like little cuts. So very flexible. Okay. Here, the pronunciation is like a K. Schedules. So maybe more common in the United States. Schedule. So pronunciation is like a K. It's possible two pronunciations. In UK, in Ireland, it's typical like K. Schedule, schedule, schedule. But in the United States, it's maybe more common. Schedule. So it's a very strange word, but in the United States they say schedule. What is your schedule? And in Ireland we maybe say what is your schedule. But the significance is the same as timetable. In Espanol, horario. Okay, so what is your schedule, or what is your timetable? What is your agenda? So very common word and very frequent, but very unique. And remember, the CH in English is important for pronunciation. You can say stomach. So this is one example. Okay, so here the CH is like K, stomach. Okay, similar to schedule, stomach. But here it's also like K, ache, headache, toothache. It's a pain. And here it's completely different. Church. So this is an example of difficult pronunciation in English, which is not phonetic. So we have stomach, ache, and church. And our question is, does exist a verb to schedule? Yeah, exactly. So it does exist the verb to schedule, and it means to plan. So you want to schedule a holiday, you want to schedule a meeting, you want to schedule a date, you want to schedule a football match, to organize. Really good question. That's important because the verb to timetable is not, we do not say to timetable. So yes, to schedule is maybe more originally the verb, but it's also very typical in the noun. Okay. On track means according to plan. Everything is good, everything is on track. The vaccine is on track, the recovery is on track. And the other expression is to go off the track or off the rails, because we say the railway, and this is the railway track. But the expression in life is if you are on track, and then the opposite is you are off the rails. And that's very typical in conversation. To go off the rails has the significance you lose maybe your focus, you lose your control, you lose your discipline. To go off the rails, very good expression. maybe for a teenager, but it doesn't matter. It's possible for anybody. You can be on track and you go off the rails. So it's to lose your direction. Okay? And the last tricky but very fluent expression is although is for contrast, although the potential transformation. So potential is the adjective, the is the article, so the noun is transformation. And the typical suffix ation is for noun, information, transformation. So that's a good example. The article, the adjective, and the noun of something as deeply ingrained. So here's the structure: as and as. So it's a long sentence, difficult, as deeply ingrained and seemingly immutable. So adjective, that's a typical structure. As, adjective, as. I am as happy as you. Okay, I am as hungry as you. So as, adjective, as, that's a typical comparison. And here we have adjective, two adjectives. So it's a very fluent and advanced sentence. But here, deep is, you need to be careful, deep is the adjective. And the noun is depth. Okay, deep, depth, and the verb is to deepen. So this is a good example of the prefixes and the suffixes. So the depth, the th, is the noun, like the weight, like the length, like the strength. Okay, typical noun. Deepen, en, is typical like the verb, to lighten, to darken, to soften. And deep is the adjective. Deeply is the adverb. So remember, the adverb is typically the function to describe the verb. I jump quickly, that's one example. I drink slowly. So the typical adverb typically is ly. It's not always the case because sometimes it's irregular, but this one's a very good expression. Okay, the grain in the wood. Okay, so the grain in the wood is number one. So you look at the tree, you look at the wood, and the lines in the tree, the lines is the grain. Okay, so it's the flow of the wood, the grain. Okay, there is an expression to go against the grain or to go against the current. Okay, so current is related to water. So you have the current of the water, and if you go against the current, you do something completely different from everybody. So the mainstream, the river, but you go against the current, you do something the opposite to other people. It's the same concept with the grain in the wood. So the direction of the grain is this way, and if you go against the grain, you do something different. Okay, but to ingrain is typical when you make the action. When you cut the wood, you ingrain. But this is related to you, and when your parents tell you every day, teach you. For example, mathematics. Your parents teach you mathematics every day, and finally, mathematics is ingrained in you. It's part of you. Okay, so really good vocabulary to ingrain. And here, it's maybe the past simple or the adjective. And in this situation, it's the adjective. So it's ingrained means it's part of you. Very good expression. Grind. Okay, so the Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, grind. Really good vocabulary. And it's typical in the context of the coffee. So to grind is this action when you make the coffee. You grind the coffee you grind the beans to make the coffee with your teeth. If you're very stressed and you're very worried and you're very anxious, you grind your teeth when you push your teeth together because you're very stressed. So to grind your teeth. In skateboarding, so when you are skateboarding, you grind. Okay, and it's a metaphor in relation to work, because every day you need to work, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so it's the daily grind. It's stress. Okay, good vocabulary, very good vocabulary, very fluent. And here it's a modal verb. Might, it's a possibility. It is the subject, and just is only. So it might is the modal. The next verb is to be, but because it's after the modal, we eliminate to. So it might be an idea. Whose, this is a relative pronoun, cuyos in Espanol. So for example, whose bottle is this? Whose? Is it mine? Is it yours? Is it his? Whose? It's possession. So it's like cuyos in Spanish. Okay, very good. That's good quality. It's a lot of explanation, a lot of detail, a lot of explanation, a lot of information. I will put the details on the Facebook page. I'm going to show you here. If you want to join the meeting, I will put the code here on sorry, I'll go back to the top of the page to show you, because maybe you want to participate and you want to ask a question. I will show you the link and the code for Zoom. So one moment, I think we're nearly there, and maybe you want to ask a question, or maybe you want to practice some conversation. So now is the time. If you want to join the meeting, I know we have one person in the chat and you are welcome to participate. So let me see. Excuse me, I don't have... Yeah, okay, very good question. So basically, the concept of the verb to grind is this action. For example, the coffee. You need pressure, you need a lot of stress, you need a lot of pressure to make the coffee from the bean. So this action is to grind, the same with your teeth, to grind. But we use this as a metaphor for work, because normally you start work at 9 o'clock and you finish at 5. So it's the daily, every day, and it's an adjective, 9 to 5 grind. So it just represents like a metaphor that you work 9 to 5 every day. It's stress, it's stress, it's stress. That's really, it's possible Monday to Friday grind, it's possible 9 to 5 grind. It does not necessarily have to be 9 to 5. It's just an adjective, I think, in this case. Okay, so everybody's welcome to join the Zoom, and I think that's more or less everything. The person in Zoom, if you want to participate speaking, just put your hand and I can unmute you, and it would be great to chat. But also remember, today we have a webinar specifically at 4 o'clock in relation to the advanced exam on Zoom, and if you want to participate in the webinar today, contact me and I can give you the details. There's a small fee of €2.90, but it's a very good webinar specifically for vocabulary, for exercises, and to prepare for this popular Cambridge exam. So if you want to participate, you can contact me and I can give you the details. That is today at 4 o'clock. Okay, also everything is, I'm very happy to teach for free. It's a good opportunity to help using technology. It's incredible and it's fantastic. It's my job. So I stopped working in May and it was difficult to work from home, and finally since January I have a little space to hopefully continue working, and this is a good opportunity to reach lots of people and to contact and to know lots of new people. But it's my job, so if you want to help me and you're happy to make a small contribution online, you can donate with the application in Spain, Bizum, with the telephone number, the application in Ireland and other countries of Revolut, you have the telephone number, or directly to the bank, and the IBAN and the BIC in Ireland is here, and you can donate directly, just a very, very small tip, maybe €1 or £1 or or €2, and then PayPal is the second option. This is the website, paypal.me/support Brian King. That's my name, Brian, and that's it. So it would be a great help if you want to support me and donate. It would really, really help me a lot, and it would allow me to continue this way, and it would be very appreciated. So hopefully you can donate, and thank you to everybody who has helped me so far. It's a big support and a big help. Finally, this is the Instagram and social media. If you want to connect on Instagram, YouTube and Twitter, they are the information. Okay, so if you want to chat on the Zoom, I don't know who we have. Would you like to, so the person in the chat, I'll maybe return the comment. So I'll ask him or her, would you like to speak? And this could be a good opportunity for everybody to learn a little from the corrections or from suggestions I can give the speaker. So this is a possibility every day. Maybe in the future I will prepare specific classes for speaking. I think that would be very good, because today is very heavy with vocabulary, it's very heavy with grammar, and listening is very important, and speaking is very important as well. So soon I will organize specific classes for speaking. Okay, so I think we have no interest to speak, which is no problem. I hope you have a very good day. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Remember, we have the webinar today at 4 o'clock, and hopefully I will see you there. And thank you very much for connecting today. It was a pleasure, and keep in contact. If you have any questions, you can put the question on the Facebook page. And thank you so much for your help and for your support, and enjoy